Well, it's my pleasure to introduce Rory Mapstone he's the founder of eZar and also the founder of EOS South Africa. Rory is based in South Africa. He's the founder of eZar, which is the first stable currency pegged to South African rand. And Rory is also a member of the Telos Foundation. He's an active contributor to the Telos project. He developed the mobile wallet as well. Welcome, Rory, and we are glad to have you here. We are glad to listen to the eZar.
Yeah, thank you for the introduction, and thank you for the opportunity to be able to share what we're busy with. I'm just going to share my screen and then I'll flip over. Basically, this presentation's about the eZar stablecoin, but I'll touch quite a lot on other projects that we're busy with because, first of all, 20 minutes of speaking about a stablecoin is sort of pushing it a little bit, but also it sort of creates context as to why we did this stablecoin. So if we just take a step right back to when we started with EOS.io software about 2 years ago, I personally realized that this software is the stuff that we can build real world business applications on the blockchain, or applications that are going to change people's lives. It's responsive and it's quick and there aren't massive costs involved. So it's really a major innovation. And we're probably sort of one of very few companies in this region that's doing anything on this particular blockchain. So we sort of decided that part of our mission would be to establish competency in the region, build key infrastructure, participate in any local blockchain projects, and if we can bring them over to the blockchain that we're working on, that'll be great. And sort of through a process, we ended up where all of our effort is now on the Telos blockchain. So sort of history why we called EOS South Africa, but we probably need a bit of rebranding there. But anyway, we 100% focused on building on the Telos blockchain. You touched on some of the projects that we're busy with. So the subject of this presentation is the eZar stablecoin. We also built a mobile wallet, which that project started back in February 2019 when Telos was a very new blockchain and there weren't any mobile apps and mobile wallets. And, it was partly out of frustration that we saw that there was a need to have a mobile wallet. In Africa and in most of the developing world, people work on mobile before they work on the web. So mobile apps are sort of critical to success of blockchain in this region. The third project that I worked on, and we sort of did the final release of phase 1 in the last week, is basically Telos swaps, which allows people to exchange Telos tokens using the Bancor protocol on the Telos blockchain. And all of these pillars are basically aimed at sort of exciting higher level projects that really first drew us to EOS.io and then Telos. So if we sort of take a step back and we look at what Telos looked like when we first arrived a year ago, we were trying to build a project and we had one pillar trying to support this whole project, and that was the Telos blockchain. But there weren't any mobile apps, there weren't stable coins. I mean, if we look at the recent innovations with Decides and Oracles and all of this sort of stuff didn't exist. So we sort of figured if we want to move ahead and do the stuff that's going to make our project a success, we need to build the important parts that are going to support our higher level projects and support this in the domestic economy. Businesses in South Africa want to work with South African rands. Businesses in Zambia want to work with kwacha. So you need to basically connect with the real economy and solve real world problems. And sort of where we're going here with blockchain in the developing world is if we look at cycles of innovation, the developed world do this vertical innovation, and really Telos is one of those massive leaps in blockchain where we're suddenly able to process real-time transactions. We can process millions of transactions a day. And now that that's available, all of these sort of local market projects and things like that that are really needed in the developing world have a platform to build on. So there's this enormous opportunity to build out horizontally and build these economies right across Africa. And that's what we're doing in South Africa. So if you just want to sort of have a perspective of what it was like before eZar to buy Telos as a South African, what you would typically have to do is send your South African rands to a local exchange and buy Bitcoin. And then that Bitcoin, you might send it off to Binance and buy EOS, send that EOS to Chainrift and buy Telos. And then basically the next big step is, what do you do with this Telos? Because if it's not in your account, it's not your Telos. So there's that whole education process of getting it into a wallet and that sort of stuff. So an incredibly clumsy process, and it's just something that's not going to work for the man on the streets here. And also, I mean, the flip side is, if I go into a business presentation and I say, this is how you need to connect with your customers, it's not going to happen. So essentially, we've taken that whole process with the launch of the eZar, where we can take our South African rands and buy eZar in one simple step. That can, if you buy eZar and you load it into your account, which is on your Kulex wallet, you basically can switch that using Telos swaps for any of the tokens that exist on the Telos network. And then basically the reverse path, you can swap those tokens for Telos and exit the system through eZar again. So we've taken something that is like an enormous barrier to entry and made it simple. And this is a core to us being successful in any project in this country. If we don't get this right, we might as well not even start with those projects. So to answer the question of what eZar is, it's a fully reserve backed stable currency. There are two components that are the face of eZar. There's a website that is sort of particularly corporate friendly. So it's something that a corporate can sign up with an email address and a login, and they can interface with our ecosystem. And then on the other side, we have a mobile app, which is a really dumbed down version of a mobile wallet. It simply involves providing your phone number and you have an account, so that it's made ultra simple, and it allows people to receive and send eZar to cash in and cash out. Obviously, this whole infrastructure is still supported within Kulex Wallet and Squirrel Wallet and various other components of the Telos ecosystem, because it's a standard EOSIO token contract that we're using here. And what we've tried to do is to make it as open as possible so that we can engage with as many other projects using this coin as possible, and really open up the South African economy to the world of Telos. A project that I'm sort of particularly excited about, and it really presents a use case for eZar, is, at the moment, we don't even have a name for it. We're quite well developed in terms of the tech and that sort of stuff, but we're in the early stages of going to market. And it's basically a clean energy project that allows households to monetize solar PV on their roofs and benefit from sort of whatever economic benefit we can derive out of those solar PV panels. So the obvious one that a typical household wouldn't be able to participate in is the carbon credit market. There are other opportunities that are coming, but they're further down the line because they sort of rely on municipalities to change bylaws and sort of the wheels of government and institutions move slower, is to allow people to benefit from feedback into the national electricity grid. And that will happen in time, but certainly the carbon market is the one that we're changing to give this project momentum right now. So if we look from the normal household perspective, you're going to have a solar PV panel on your roof. You're going to generate tokens based on how much clean energy you produce. And you can't take those tokens and go to a coffee shop and buy a coffee or buy Bitcoin if you want to. So you're really locked out of the real world unless you can convert this into a domestic currency. And that's where the combination of the token swaps and eZar allows these individuals to convert these to rands. They can cash it out into their personal bank account if they want, or they can use it on indulgence. And then on the other side of the model, we have big polluters who need to purchase carbon credits, and they can't purchase from 50,000 households. It's just not practical. So without really a lot of infrastructure, we've basically created a marketplace where they can buy whatever carbon credits they want at a single point, and it's bulked up because the Telos blockchain is doing this bulking for us. And all of this is clearly audited and irrefutable, and it's on the Telos blockchain. So there's no question about the credibility of any of the data we're producing. And I mean, I'm excited when we start talking about things like dStore, where we have certification that we need to store in the public domain. And you can understand we're building basic functionality that serves our purpose, but there's so much else out there going on in Telos that supports what we're doing. And then if you just take what we're building on a project like this as a microcosm and you join this to the greater Telos network, this is really where you see the true benefit of a network effect. I mean, so many people talk about network effect as being, I've got 100,000 users on a platform. But to me, when you get to a point where you've got projects that can leverage the benefits of other projects, and the sum of all of these parts is far bigger than the individual parts, this is the true network effect. And this is where we're arriving at the moment on Telos. So sort of in summary, what we've built here is our little project at the top there, and it's supported on the pillars of the Telos blockchain. We have the eZar stablecoin, which allows our project to interface with the real world. We've got the Kulex wallet, and soon to be released, we'll have sort of the stripped down eZar mobile app, which just makes it simpler for people that don't want to know about blockchain. And then the machine that makes all of this hang together is the Telos swap functionality. And that's about it. So thank you, Michael.
Well, that's exciting, Rory. It's a great project. Now, one question that comes to my mind is how is the peg maintained with eZar?
It's basically a just hold on. Do I need to stop sharing my screen?
Yes. There's a button down there. Stops.
Okay, down the bottom. Okay, so we can see each other again. Yeah,
yes.
So it's basically a full reserve bank backed stable coin. So it's nothing really fancy. It is self-supporting because we get good interest in sort of developing economies. So, it's enough to fund the operation and not have exorbitant fees. But the main purpose of this stablecoin is to enable projects to be able to connect with the real economy.
So so you have a reserve in a fiat currency on which you issue the eZar tokens. That's
Yeah, that's correct, and that's managed in a trust account by an independent third party. So basically, we have the reserves to always sort of pay out anyone that needs to cash out. But obviously, our hope is that this grows and the economy moves onto the Telos blockchain, and we do more Telos and less real rands if we can get there.
Excellent. Now, this CoolX mobile wallet is available for both iPhone and Android?
Yeah, it's on the App Store. We have a Telegram channel if there are any questions, but I think, if anyone just goes and asks in the community chats, they can get pointers, or if they just go onto the App Store and they search for CoolX wallet, it'll appear in the search.
Excellent. And we can swap tokens with this CoolX wallet. What can we swap right now for Telos?
In the CoolX wallet, I'll just open it up while I'm talking to you, so I can look at it. And if it's clear, I can actually show you on the screen. So basically, in my account, I have a number of tokens. If I pick Telos, okay, there's my account, and then down the bottom here, I've got a swap button I can select, and there are the various tokens that I can swap.
Oh,
so I can take
a selection there, right?
Yeah, and the same thing is available it's integrated in Squirrel Wallet. I think Telos Wallet has the same, and we launched the websites earlier this week. And then basically, if I want to swap for eZar, I'll select the eZar, and it'll tell me that one Telos is worth roughly, I'm reading backwards, 0.61 eZar. I can do the conversion. Sorry, it needs a pin. And you try and do, so this is the swapping process, and basically it's converting one Telos to 0.61 eZar.
Oh, excellent. Very fast.
Yeah, and that process, the Telos has gone out of my account, the eZar is in my account. So, this is the sort of stuff that we can build really nice user apps. We don't have to train people on how to use exchanges and that sort of stuff. And hopefully people that are into crypto will go and do a bit of arbitrage between the swapping and the exchanges, and keep the prices of the tokens aligned. But this is a great way to integrate your token into the real world economy and into the Telos blockchain.
Excellent. And which is the website for eZar? Rory, is it eZar.com or eZar.io?
It's eZar.co.za. So it's a domestic South African website. The other websites, just for interest, are coolx.io is the wallet website. So again, there, if you go there, the links are there for the downloads. And then the token swap we're running at the moment on bancor.coolx.io. We'll see where its final home is, but that'll allow you to do the swaps using your Squirrel wallets or Scatter or anything that those of us that are familiar with ESRO and have been around for a while will be familiar with those wallets.
Excellent. Well, Rory, tell us about yourself. Now, you're based in South Africa, right? How did you come into crypto space, and what were you doing before Telos?
Yeah, so I've sort of got I mean, I trained as a mechanical engineer, and I did my master's, and that sort of cured me of academic work. I finished it, but I decided that research wasn't for me, and sort of started off in the aerospace industry, and specifically in test and measurement, and that's where my exposure got into IT, and sort of eventually from there into telecoms. About 20 years ago, we built a big data system that we were using with mobile networks to sort of mine call records and discover network faults, do analysis on handsets, that sort of stuff. And really back then, I mean, it was cutting edge when, this was the stuff that was difficult to do 20 years ago. And we sort of exited that company about a year and a half ago. And probably the main reason is that for me, it's not exciting anymore. It's become a commodity. It's not what we did. There was a point where we were running the whole of AT&T, which was around about 5 billion rows a day. The infrastructure cost $10 million to put together. The same thing today you can build on $100,000 of infrastructure. So the world's changed over 20 years, and certainly if we look at the S curve of development, we're right up at the top of the S curve in that business. And coming over to blockchain, we at sort of the bottom of that S curve again, which is, to me, is an exciting place to be. It's offers you the opportunity to innovate. We're dealing with problems that are not easy to solve now because no one's done it before us, and we have to build everything. But it's exciting. And I mean, if I just look across Telos and you see the other projects and the innovation that's going on and the opportunity to interface with other projects, it's incredibly exciting. Probably just to answer your original question on the blockchain is, I got into Bitcoin in 2014, and I mean, that sort of convinced me on the value of blockchain. But I'd sort of come from a big system perspective, and you look at this and you think, well, this is great, but we can't use this for everyday use. It's not acceptable to wait 20 minutes for a transaction to complete. And I mean, back then I didn't know that the whole network, the whole world was, say, 1 million transactions is all it could cope with in a day. But I mean, you're frustrated about the user experience of that one transaction that you're doing. But certainly when I ran into Telos, that was the first thing that I realized is, here's a blockchain that is a real blockchain, and I can do a transaction and it's instant. And I mean, that would be the message that I would send out to anyone that's fiddling around with blockchains, that you're waiting for minutes or whatever for transactions to complete.
Excellent. So is there any plans for eZar for integration into like daily commerce? For example, to get a coffee, for example, right? To go to Starbucks, use eZar for coffee.
I want to, and I've got some friendly vendors that'll do that. But certainly at scale, I think the clean energy project gives us the critical mass to start doing that at a scale where it's really useful. And sort of if we just talk about that particular use case, the coffee shop would be expecting payment in rands. And that's where the combination of the coffee shop being able to receive in rands, and through our Telos swap, you being able to buy your coffee in Telos. So yeah, I mean, it's something that we sort of actively looking into, but we're not driving hard at the moment because it's sort of establishing the critical mass on the other side of the market.
Excellent. And how far is the clean credit project now, Rory? Or is it already launched, or you're still in the launch phase?
We're basically bringing our first site online, so it would be a soft launch with real data in the next. It's sort of imminent, so within the next week or two. We sort of ran for a while generating the site data with a bot, and that was useful to sort of demonstrate the tech to businesses and that sort of stuff, to convince big business that this was viable and that it was real. I mean, I guess most of us have experienced that when we go and speak to corporate about blockchain. It's very exciting, but it's also terrifying for them. So just to be able to show that it's real and that sort of stuff, we built the basic infrastructure and populated the data with a bot. And yeah, as I said, within, say, the next 2 weeks, we'll be putting real data in there and sort of start building out the sort of checking all the check boxes on the compliance that we need to have in place to keep everyone happy.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Rory. It's great to have you here. We're very grateful that you took the time to be part of this event. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Michael, and thanks again for letting me share the platform.